Hello everyone. So our RRL campaign is keep going on and it has a very good momentum. Today I'm going to be recording my speech, which I have prepared for the delegation, which we took it to the City Hall on the 31st of the January. On that day, I was only able to complete 60% of my speech over there because of the shortage of the time, because we usually get only the 5 minute window because RRL program is such a huge program. So we have to be cover all these points, and since that program was launched in the January 1st, it has a tons of discrepancies. So I try to squeeze my speech into the 5 minute, which is very impossible. Hence, I was not able to complete the full speech during the delegation. So I'm taking this opportunity. So I'm recording this video so that ensure that City Hall reads it, because the purpose of the delegation is anyway that was a one directional, right? We were not able to ask the questions. They can ask us a question because since that program has started, we were always looking for the bi-directional talk, and which was never facilitated by the city, and that was very unfortunate. The day what we are living in the 2024, and where we are enchanting about the democracy everywhere, because when these kind of the laws are coming, it is just said that because yes, we have done the delegation, because we look at the chronicle orders, there was no public meeting was held. So this is a very like a blunt lie which is putting on the front of the Brampton citizens, telling that they have the public consultation was done prior to bringing this in effect. Unfortunately, that was not true. So I'm not going into that kind of the debate in this specific video, but definitely I'm looking forward an opportunity to sit with the city to have a discussion where we can have the bi-directional conversations. However, in this specific video, I'm gonna be covering the delegation speech, which I have prepared for the 31st of January, which I was not able to complete in the delegation. So I'm taking this opportunity to read that speech in front of every Brampton resident, so that we will put our points forward, and this will also shed some light that why we are opposing the RRL. Members of councils and the Brampton residents, my name is Ravi Sohal. I see myself as a first responder to the questions of the rental licensing programs, legitimacy and effectiveness, who also took time to study pros and cons in detail. I am speaking on the behalf of 7,000 residents who have signed the petitions. As of now, we have a 7,300 plus signatures, because when it was on the 31st of December, it was 7,000. So I attempted to educate the city on what I genuinely believe will be the consequences for the tenants and the landlords resulting the implementation of the RRL, hence pilot program put on shelf. On the other hand, council members are picking apart the faulty flawed logic and the weak argument profound for implementing this program. Resident consultation was minimal after launch. Now the city is going on the media outlet to market their RRL baby, where they were have these platforms to describe about the program before the launch. City never once provided independent objective and the quantifiable data to justify that the program's significance. This is a very important question we are asking from the city. City is only saying that it is we are bringing in the city for the health and safety of the tenants, and also to bring the property standard. The how answer is not there because nobody has provided. Look at all the city videos, look at their documentation, there is how answer is not provided. It is acknowledged by the council member in my face to face meeting that they were not aware of the requirements clause and the cross impact assessment of the program. even after it was launched as the pilot project. I raise my serious concern for the city of Brampton regarding the lawmaking practices in the darkness. How can the council member agree to vote for the city policy when it was unbaked? Brampton has the highest property taxes rate compared to the neighboring cities. Despite Brampton is unable to achieve the property bylaw enforcement objective without recovering the additional cost from the people that provide the fundamental foundations upon every municipality and the social society is built. Since it is a laundry list of the concern in regard to the RRL, it is hard to decide where to start. Let me shed some light on the major discrepancies. The first one is illegal basements. The major objective, the RRL was mentioned by the city to find the illegal rental units. Illegal word is a very vague here. Let me clarify. The city might meant by the dwelling do not comply with the building and fire codes. My primary concern revolve around the fact that targeting the legal basements with the RRL program may not effectively address the problem of non-compliant basements. I believe that the owners of the non-compliant basements may be the less inclined to apply for the license, as it could invite unwanted attention and scrutiny. Consequently, the city's intended purpose of cracking down the non-compliant basements may remain largely unaddressed by the RRL. When even under the RRL, city will rely on the complaints to find the illegal basements. What does the rental licensing will bring to address this problem? Instead of bringing initiatives to encourage the non-compliant basement dwellers to make them compliant with the building code. Number two, redundant inspections, legal dwelling, either originally builder constructed homes or the two dwelling has already undergone through the inspection and have obtained the occupancy permit from the city, a purpose that is equivalent to the rental licensing. Why this redundancy, which will come with the cost? One counselor mentioned in the media that RRL will give landlords acknowledgement to the property standards. In case RRL is only providing the acknowledgement, the city can consider to opening a yearly acknowledgement form. Landlord could then self-declare and acknowledge compliance with these bylaws, confirm that no modification have made in the unit. The city retained the authority to enforce the property standard bylaws without warning. Is that not only the tool the city is looking to achieve in the whole multi-million dollar RRL initiative, which can be achieved by a simple process? Just a reminder to the council, every penny spent at City Hall is coming from the taxes. The other one is objective from the city is overcrowding. Regarding overcrowding, 99% of the landlord, including myself, are against the overcrowding. I am here representing that 99% of the law-abiding residents. The city's effort to limit a unit for the four unrelated tenant goes against the Residential Tenancy Act and the Ontario Human Rights Code. The city acknowledge in their the lodging house sections that the number of occupants and their relationship does not violate the zoning bylaw, and the city cannot create any bylaw for that. That is mentioned on the City of Brampton's website. This might be considered discriminatory, and the individuals should be able to share the bedroom without scrutiny. Landlord Tenant Board Guideline 21 and the RTA 10 protect tenants' right to share the room without requiring the landlord's consent. Given these guidelines, it raises a question about how the city can enforce the occupant limit and hold the landlords accountable when provincial law empowers tenants. According to the RTA Section 10, landlord has a limited set of the criteria to find the potential tenant. How many people will share that room? That's one of the criteria which landlord cannot enforce according to the RTA Section 10. Adding a clause of the foreperson in the lease agreement render the agreement null and void under the RTA clause 4. Imposing such bylaws on the legal ground is unjust to the Brampton resident when we cannot enforce on the other side when we having the relationship between the tenant and landlord. Another major concern articulated in the purpose of the RRL is to address the garbage overflow problem. How does getting a license will resolve the garbage overflow problem? Effective leaders find the root cause and fix the problem instead of just making a law and assume that it will make some magic. The city issued only the single bin per property instead of per dwelling when city is well aware there are two dwellings or more than two dwellings on a single property means that each unit will be occupied by the separate family since city has issued the separate occupancy permit for each dwelling. City should consider issuing the garbage when per dwelling instead of the per property. Moreover, the garbage collection is a weekly few years ago, which is now reduced to the frequency of the bi-weekly. Can someone help me to explain how getting a rental licensing can reduce the household garbage volume? Other one is the clause 40 of the residential rental licensing bylaw. Every landlord is liable for the conduct of each tenant and is responsible for ensuring that all tenants comply by all bylaws, including the municipal bylaw. What does it mean? Either the landlord or the tenant, as long as they are living in the city, it is the individuals responsible to comply with the municipal bylaws. Canada is a country of the fair policies. When landlords sign a lease with the tenant to establish a contract, these leases ensure the tenant is taking the responsibility to obey the city bylaw as a Brampton resident and keeping the property into the orderly manner, similar fashions as the landlord handled well maintained property per property standards. Every individual is responsible for his or her actions. When we cannot be responsible for the behavior of their own family member, it is completely absurd for the city to make the mom and pop landlord to responsible for the code and conduct of their tenants. Other one is the without notice entry. Unconstitutional approach is taken for the forced consent from the landlord. Consent means there is an option of yes and no. Licensing application was not allowed to proceed unless you check the consent radio button, which is a draconian approach. Homeowners' consent is just null and void when RTA protect the tenant's privacy. As soon as we add landlord's consent to city for property access provisions in the lease agreement become null and void and unforceable reasons. Hypocritically, city councillors only targeted the mom and pop landlords and exempted the big corporations and the real estate investment trust company from the rental licensing for obvious reasons. Where program will step into the privacy and the human rights code of the tenant's right, this program will also lead to increase in the rents and discourage the new home buyers coming to the Brampton. On the other hand, when the professional tenants will see this in the favor of the tenants, will high likely increase the count of the rent defaults. Unexpected increase in the population has contributed by the federal policies that blindly open up the door without making any arrangement when they were warned 2 years ago. Now we are facing the consequences. City of Brampton and the Ontario municipalities should study the city of Oshawa, which has voted 5 to 3 to reject the safety committee's proposal to implement the citywide rental licensing program. These rejections ended many potential legal issues, such as not receiving the license of the rent while the tenant occupies the rental unit. City of Brampton and other municipalities should study the city of Oshawa, which voted 5 to 3 to reject the safety committee proposal to implement the citywide rental licensing program. This rejection ended many potential legal issues, such as not receiving the license to the rent while the tenant is occupies the rental unit. Also study the Toronto's rent safety scheme uses the bylaw enforcement officers to conduct building evaluations, audits, and the traditional investigation process of the complaint submitted to the 311. While this is not a license per se, it remains a huge overreach to proactive invasive municipal enforcement. Law acknowledgement and the enhanced enforcement will help to address the housing, health, and safety issues where licensing is merely a political wrapper. Licensing will not help to resolve anything. If you do the case study of City of Windsor and the City of Waterloo licensing, I urge the council to stop the rental licensing program permanently and brainstorms with the residents to resolve the core problem of the city. Thank you very much.